it was a great thing to have the Bishop of Mainland China. Now, last year we have Bishop Yang and Bishop Yao from Inner Mongolia, and they were here, but only for 2 weeks or so. And there's some even rumors that they are so angry at the end they left. It's not the case. That's not the case. But it was the first time they show up, even though it's not the first synod that Chinese bishops show up. Still a big thing, and many people surround them, trying to understand, to listen to them. Right? It's a great thing. But the second time, just last October, with Bishop Yang and Bishop Zhan, they came for the whole synod, the whole session. And even, especially Bishop Yang first, and then later followed by Bishop Zhang at a different time, they spoke openly at the synod. And I remember Bishop Yang talked about, the church in China is always faithful to the apostolic succession. Okay? So, he welcomed anyone in synod, or anyone outside, I'm sure, go to visit the church in China, see for themselves. Okay? And then Bishop Zhan talked about culture, the importance of culture, understanding and respecting culture. And he used Matteo Ricci, Father Matteo Ricci, as a model. So evangelization, we need to first to understand the culture of the place and use it as a channel for evangelization. I think that's beautiful, right? So, yeah, I'm glad that they were there. I think we're all glad that they were there.
In the synod, the presence of the 2 bishops, from the mainland, was something very beautiful and something very impressive. But for me, there are not only 3 bishops there, we have 4. There are 4 Chinese-speaking bishops. And then I make this experience, and that I was thinking, now, Cardinal Stephen, is my bishop because I'm living in Hong Kong. But one day I move into Mainland. So Bishop Yang can also be my bishop. And then, maybe one day I move to Fujian, and then Bishop Zhan, so he will become my bishop. Or maybe one day if I go to Taiwan, then Bishop Pu can become my bishop. So there is no difference in a certain sense. I know that the culture is very different in the diocese. The way people were relating to one another, the structure is different. But this sense of church is really the same. So I got this impression that how I relate to Cardinal Stephen, I will the same way I will relate myself to the other bishops if one day I will be there, belong to the diocese. And that is a very important experience for me, that we are church. We are not, distinct dioceses, because, we have a territory difference, So, and also sometimes, I see, the relationship between all the bishops, the Chinese-speaking bishops, it was really an encouragement, and I do have a lot of hope. And if you say, how we can help, I think, that if it is the Holy Spirit that is guiding the church, and, He's the one who is opening up, that the church move forward with synodality. So I think He will also open up, different ways for the church in the mainland, to head onto the synodal process. And then if, for us, personally, or maybe as group, or maybe as diocese, and I think, the Holy Spirit will open up ways, and if we are invited, or maybe if we see some other way we can collaborate, for sure, I think, we will give all the best, so that, together with all these, our brothers and sisters in the mainland, that we can move on together.
So we would say, in the Chinese translation of synodality, there are 2 ways. One way that Hong Kong, Macau uses 共仪同行, 公义同行. In Taiwan and mainland China, they use 同道皆行, 同道偕行. It's like people say, why don't you just use one translation? You allow two. Yeah, I think it's quite understandable. Like in our cultural consciousness, we like to be like united or uniformity, standardization, that type of thing, right? So using one is good. But at the same time, allowing two is also the spirit of Synodal Church. We embrace difference. And both of them has their own advantage and maybe limitations, both translations. And we embrace them. So that's a way for us to walk together. Okay, to appreciate and allow. And then I hope that, I think with our church in China, mainland China and Hong Kong, we all have the same desire to come closer, to collaborate, to have synergetic effects from our work, right, from a service. But at the same time, admitting that quite difference in culture sometimes, way of expressing ourselves and seeing what's possible, what's not possible, for example.
So one of the concrete things that I think we can contribute, to help the church in the mainland, to proceed on the synodal process. And because when I was talking to the bishops, from the mainland, and they usually ask me, do you have materials in Chinese? Do you have documents translated? So, and I realized that is very important for them, because if they want to promote, they do have this intention to promote, but they need really resources. And I think, one of the advantage that we have in Hong Kong or Macau or Taiwan, and we can produce or we can translate a lot of documents or the materials. Even, maybe there is already kind of like courses, on synodality. And I think that can contribute, to help them. We can share, that can be a starting point that we can share.
So the good news is the Chinese translation of the final document will be out shortly after the Lunar New Year. Because I've talked to the people involved, and they said during the Lunar New Year, they will have time to have the final polishing of the translation, and that will become available. So what we need to look into, for example, is the process of translation process. Like what we're having now is very solid, okay, pretty safe. But now when we don't have enough human resources, can we use like modern technology, translation, but yet at the same time not to sacrifice accuracy? I think that's something we should look into that. Yeah.